Hello fellow crocheters, my name is Anne and welcome back to my channel. I will be making a small in this video, but you can find sizes X small to X large instructions in the written pattern over at my Etsy shop. I will link my shop and this pattern in the description box below, as well as timestamps to help you follow along. That's enough talk, let's jump right into the supplies. So to get started on this pattern, over here I'm using my 5.5mm hook, and I will just go ahead and make a slip knot. You can do that any way you would like. Now we're going to make a chain of 11. So just yarning over and pulling through. And then once you have finished your chain of 11, turning your work and starting into the second chain from your hook, we're going to work single crochets in each stitch down. So just starting from this second chain, inserting my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two, and then just work single crochets into each chain all the way down, and you should have a total of 10 stitches. And then once you have completed those 10 single crochets, to begin each row, chain one and then turn your work. Now starting into this first stitch, so skipping this first chain and starting into this first stitch, we're going to work back loop single crochets. So just only inserting my hook into that back loop and then working a single crochet. So just work back loop single crochets into each stitch all the way down. So I just worked those back loop single crochets, and then as always, chain one and then turn. So now you just want to repeat row 1 and row 2, and you're going to do that for 52 rows. So all you want to do is just alternate those back loop and regular single crochet rows. So just to do a little more with you, starting to this first stitch, we're going to work single crochets into each stitch across. And then once you made it to the end of that, chain and then turn. And then now we're going to alternate. So last row we just did those regular single crochets, and then now starting to this first stitch, we're going to work back loop single crochets. And just to say this one more time, just alternate those back loop single crochet rows and those regular single crochet rows, and this will form a really pretty ribboning pattern to your work. And you want to do this for 52 rows in total. So I'm just going to go ahead off camera, finish this border, then I will meet you back when I'm all done. Alrighty guys, so I just finished doing my 52 rows for our bottom border. Now we're going to start on the back panel, and all you want to do for that is just chain one right here and then turn your work. And we will be working across our bottom border right on top of it, so you do not have to cut and tie off. Now we're just going to work a foundation chain coming all the way across our border. You just want to treat every single row as if it were a one stitch. So beginning into this very first stitch, you want to work a single crochet. And by the end of your row, you should have 52 stitches in total. So just make sure you're counting along. I'll just meet you back once I have reached the end of my work. Alright guys, so I am back here. I just worked that foundation row of single crochets coming all the way up my row. And just to remind you guys one more time, you should have a 52 stitches in total. Now just to begin each row as usual, you just want to chain up of 1 and then turn your work. So now just starting into this first stitch, we're going to repeat that last row we did. So we're just going to work rows of single crochets, just like this. And I'm not sure how many rows I have to do yet, but I'll let you know in the next clip. But just keep on working these rows of single crochets, then I will meet you back in the next clip. Okay guys, so I have just finished my rows. From the very first row to the very top one, I did a total of 59 rows. And then after you have completed that, we can now begin on our little collar here, forming this round part. So let's just get started on that. Alrighty guys, so I just decided to go ahead and finish up one side of my work. We're going to have to repeat this process on this side, so I'll just show you how to do that now. So just to get started on this, I'm just going to go ahead and insert my hook right into the very first stitch right over here, and then just slip stitch to secure, and then now just chain up of 1. So now we're going to work 20 single crochets coming across our row. So we're not going to go all the way across, just go 20 stitches around. So just starting into this first stitch, I'm just going to work a single crochet, and then I'll just meet you back once I finish those 20 stitches. So I just worked my 20 stitches coming across my row, and this is what it's looking like. Now I'm just going to chain up of 1 for each row and then just turn my work just as you normally would. Now starting into this very first stitch, we're actually going to be working a decrease this time. So into this very first stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, into that second stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, and then pull through everything just like that. So we just worked a decrease. Now you just want to work all the way down your row doing these single crochets, and since we did a decrease this row, you should now have a total of 19 stitches this time. And then here, I'm almost at the end. And then once you made it to the end of this row, chain and then turn your work just as usual. So now we're going to work those single crochets starting into this first stitch all the way across, nothing fancy. You just want to work all the way back down your row this time. And then now I have worked all the way back down my row. I'm just going to quickly chain and then turn my work. And then just as we did last time on this side of our work, we're going to do another decrease into this very first stitch. So just inserting my hook, pull up a loop, into that next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and then pull through everything just like that. So now just to continue this pattern, you want to do a decrease into the first stitch every other row. So just to refer back to here, this side should stay straight and you should be working decreases all along here. And you want to continue doing these decreases until you just have 6 stitches remaining. So I'm just going to meet you back once I have finished this collar right over here. Then I will show you the next steps. Alrighty guys, so I am back here. I did the same thing on this side, just repeating that same process as we did over here, decreasing on one side, so that should leave this edge very straight. So now all I did was just cut and tie off, and then now we can begin on the back panel. Alrighty guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started on our front panel with the cabling. So as you can see here, I have already completed the bottom border. It is the same thing as we did for the back panel. You just want to chain that 11 and then work those back loop single crochets. And then to addition to the border, I worked along top of here doing single crochets, and I did 2 rows. So I did my border and then I did 2 rows of single crochets, again making sure that you have a total of 52 stitches. So once you have those 2 rows complete, we can now start on the 3rd row, which will be our cabling row. Alright guys, so to start off this row, we're just going to go ahead and work 15 single crochets, just as you normally would. So over here, I just worked those 15 single crochets. Now to the next 2 stitches, we're going to start on our cabling. We're going to work back post half double crochets. It's kind of odd to start on a back post, but that's okay. I'm going to work 2 back post half doubles. Oops. That's 1. And then here is my second one. A little bit hard to see, but that's what it looks like. After those 2 back posts, we're just going to work 2 regular single crochets into the next 2 stitches, just like that. So now into the next 4 stitches, we're going to once again work 4 back post half doubles, yarning over, inserting into that back post, and then pulling through just like that. Just work 4 back post half doubles. This is 3, and then here is my 4th one. Now to the next 2 stitches, work 2 regular single crochets, and then now next 2 stitches we're going to work 2 back post half doubles, just 2. Oops. So after you work those 2 back post half doubles again, we're going to do 2 regular single crochets. And then once again into the next 4 stitches, we're going to work 4 more back post half doubles. It's okay if you need to watch this again because that's 1, 2, 3, and then here's my 4th one. So hopefully that kind of makes sense for this row. It's kind of our first row, which is a little tricky. Now we're almost done with our cabling. We're just going to work 2 more single crochets, just like that, and then 2 more back post half doubles. So just finishing off those last 2 half doubles. And then here is my last one. Then now you should have 15 stitches remaining, and into those 15 stitches, you're of course just going to work those single crochets. So I'm just going to go over this row once again just because it seemed kind of difficult. So just to start off this row, do 15 single crochets, 2 half doubles, 2 regular single crochets, 4 back post half doubles, 2 single crochets, 2 back post half doubles, 2 regular single crochets, 4 back post, 2 regular single crochets, and then 2 back post half double crochets, and then you should have 15 stitches to finish off your work. So hopefully that made some kind of sense. And then once you made it to the end here, chain and then turn as you normally would. So we're pretty much just going to do the same thing for our next row, but instead of working back posts, it's going to be a lot easier because we're actually going to be working front posts. So just to start off this next row, we're just going to work 15 single crochets, just as you did last time. Alrighty guys, so I just worked those 15 single crochets. That's how you're going to end and begin every single row. Now into the next 2 stitches, I'm going to work 2 front post half doubles, and this time we're doing front posts, which makes it a lot easier. Then into the next 2 stitches, work 2 regular single crochets, just like that, and then into the next 4 stitches, work those front post half double crochets just into those next 4 stitches. And then here's my 4th one. And then 2 more regular single crochets, just like that. And then 2 more front post half doubles. And then 2 more single crochets. I know I'm doing this kind of quickly this time. And then 4 more front post half doubles. Two more single crochets. And then here are our last 2 half doubles to complete this second row. That's 1. And then 2. And then just like last time, you should have 15 stitches to complete this row remaining, you know. And then after you finish those 15 single crochets, chain and then turn your work. So that was our next row for our repeat pattern. And then now all you want to do for our next row is that we're going to repeat the last 2 rows that we did. So just not the previous row, but the last row after that, which is where we work those back post half double crochets. You just want to repeat that for this row. Then on the next row, we can start our twisting. But just to get you started, starting to the first stitch, just work 15 single crochets as usual. And then after you worked those 15 single crochets, you then just want to work 2 back post half doubles. And then just to remind you guys one more time, you just want to repeat that same exact row we did on the first row of this repeating pattern. So just working those back post half double crochets instead of those front post half double crochets. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up these back post half double crochets, then I will meet you back for our last repeat row at the end. Alright guys, so I am back here and I just finished doing those back post half double crochets. That previous row we already completed. And then now we're going to be working on our 4th row to our cabling pattern, which is the last row to our repeat pattern. So just to start this last row off, beginning into this first stitch, just like always, you just want to work 15 single crochets. So just as always, I just work those 15 single crochets. And now this row is going to be very similar to our other rows. And to the next 2 stitches, you want to work 2 front post half doubles. So this is the same thing as we did the last rows. Just like that. Then just work 2 regular single crochets into the next 2 rows. And then now we're on to a group of 4 posts. Now this is going to be a little bit different. You want to skip these 2 first posts, moving on to the next 2 posts, yarn over and into that 3rd post, yarn over, pull through, and then work a front post double crochet. Just like that. So we skipped 2 stitches, into that 3rd stitch we worked a front post double crochet. Now you just want to do that one more time into that 4th post. So just doing that same thing, inserting, pull through 2, and then pull through 2. Now, back to those 2 previous posts that we just skipped, starting with this first one, we're going to work 2 front post double crochets. So just working into that first skipped front post, that's 1, and then into that second one we skipped, 2. So we just worked a little twist right there. Now to the next 2 stitches, work 2 regular single crochets, just like that. And to the next 2 stitches, work 2 front post half doubles, just like that. And then the next 2 stitches, work 2 regular single crochets, very easy. And then now we come across these 4 front posts once again, and we're going to do that same thing as we did over here. We're going to skip these 2 posts, moving on to the 3rd and 4th post, work 1 front post double crochet. So that's 2, just like that, and then do that a second time, 1, 2. Now see, we skipped these 2 posts, worked into the next 2. Now starting into this first skipped post, we're going to work a front post double crochet back into that first skipped post. That's the first skipped one, and then working it into that second skipped post. I've said post a lot. Now to the next 2 stitches after you just finish that twisting, work 2 regular single crochets. That's 1, and then 2. Now to the next 2, which is the last 2 posts, work 2 regular front post half doubles. Then now we're just at the end here. You just now need to work 15 single crochets to finish off this row. So I just worked those 15 single crochets, and we just finished the repeat pattern. All you want to do is repeat those last 4 rows. So the next row we're then going to work on our back post half double crochets. So just repeat those last previous 4 rows that we did, and then you're going to keep on doing that until you have a total of 59 rows. 59 rows starting from the very base of where we started and then going all the way back up. So I'm going to finish up this cabling for my front panel, then I'm going to meet you back once I have reached the end. Alrighty guys, so I just finished up doing my 59 rows, alternating those 4 rows for our cabling right over here. And this is what my panel is looking like so far. The cabling does kind of look weird from this angle, but I promise you it looks a lot better. But once we have finished the cabling in our 59 rows, we can now start on the collar, which is pretty much the same thing that we did on the other panel. As you can see, I've already finished one side, and I'm going to just do the other side with you guys over here. Alrighty guys, so all I did was just slip stitch into this corner right over here, and then I chained 1, and then now beginning into this first stitch, we're going to work 15 single crochets. Now into the next 2 posts, we're going to work 2 front post half doubles, and then now we're going to work 2 single crochets, and then now we're going to work 2 single crochets into the next 2 stitches, and then into the very last stitch, which is your 20th stitch, you just want to work 1 more front post half double. Just chain 1 and then turn your work as usual, just like that. And then beginning into this very first stitch, we're going to work a decrease. So just pulling up 2 loops, just a regular decrease, just like that. And then after you completed your decrease, you just want to work 2 back post half doubles. And then just work single crochets into the last 15 stitches of your row. then once you made it to the end right here, chain and then just turn your work as you normally would. And then now we're going to work 15 single crochets beginning into that first stitch once again. And then once you work those 15 single crochets into the next 2 stitches, work 2 front post half doubles. That's 1. And then 2. Into this last stitch, just work 1 more single crochet, chain, and then turn your work. Now just as always, into that very first stitch, work a decrease. And then you should only have to do one back post half double. So this is our last one, because all we're doing is just continuing this cabling up through our collar. Then after you do that 1 half double, once again work those 15 single crochets, and we're almost done here, so just keep in touch here. And then once you made it to the end there, chain and then turn. So now just to continue this pattern, if you can kind of see how we were continuing our cabling right there, all you want to do is just do the same thing as last time, putting decreases in the very first stitch of every other row. And you're going to keep on doing that until you have 6 stitches in total. And you should only have 2 more rows where you have to keep up with this cabling. So I'm going to go ahead off camera and I will meet you back once I have finished up this. Alrighty guys, so I am back here. I finished up doing my decrease coming all the way along here. Then after that I just cut and tied off. Now once we have completed both our back and front panels, we can just go ahead and get started on the seaming to our work. So over here I have my back panel. And your back panel does have a good side. If you can see the ribboning on this side, that is the side you want to face down. So if we take the front panel, we're going to put both good sides facing each other, just like this. And then just turning it to the side here. Starting from this corner, you just want to seam using slip stitches or single crochets up the side of your panel until you have 7 inches remaining. So you just, from the top right here, you just want to leave a 7-inch gap, and that'll be where our armhole goes. So I'm just going to seam all the way up here, leave a 7-inch gap, then I will meet you back when I'm done. Oh, and you also want to do that to this side as well. Almost forgot. But yeah, do that same exact process on the other side. Alrighty guys, so I'm back here with my seaming. It looks a little bit messy because all the loose ends, but I'm just going to show you what I did really quickly. So over here I just seamed up the side with those single crochets, and then just remember to leave a 7-inch hole. So right here I just stopped 7 inches down, and then now we just have one more thing to seam. We're just going to take these 2 shoulder pieces and we're just going to seam this a little bit right here. And then of course you want to do that to this side. So just go across this little bit right here. Then I'm going to meet you back for the sleeves. Alrighty everyone, so I just finished up doing this little seam right here. And then now we can just go ahead and start on our sleeves. So on this side I have already completed one of my sleeves. So then we're going to go ahead and do the sleeve right over here. So from our seaming, you should have left a 6-inch gap from the top here all the way down here. So what I'm going to do is that I will just slip stitch my hook right into the seam, and then I'll meet you back to start on the first steps. Alrighty guys, so I slip stitched my hook right into the seam right over here. All I'm going to do is chain up of 1. And then beginning into this very first stitch, I'm going to work single crochets into each stitch all the way around this circle. And this is just going to be a foundation chain. So I'm just going to work single crochets, coming all the way around my sleeve, treating each row like a stitch, and then I'll meet you back once I have made it all the way around. But I'm just going to do a few of these here just so you know what I mean. Alrighty guys, so I just finished up working those single crochets all the way around my sleeve, and you should have 42 stitches in total. Now to join each row of the sleeve, you just want to insert your hook into that very first stitch, slip stitch, chain one, and then turn your work, and that's how you're going to end each row. So now just to continue this pattern, beginning into this very first stitch, you want to work single crochets all the way around your sleeve. Alrighty guys, so I am back here again. I worked all the way around here. Again, make sure you have 42 stitches. And then now just to join my row, just as we did last time, all you want to do is slip stitch into that first stitch, chain one, and then turn. So now we're just going to repeat doing that row until we have a total of 40 rows. So just keep on working these rounds of single crochetings, not forgetting to join it. Then just keep on doing that until you have 40 rows in total. Then I'll meet you back up with a decrease row. So I'll just see you guys in a little bit. Alrighty guys, so I am back here with my 40 rows for my sleeve. So these are my 40 rows. And then now moving on to the next row, we're going to be working a decrease row. So over here for my 41st row, I have my work. And to do this decrease row, we're going to single crochet in 5 stitches, and then we're going to work a decrease. So let's just show you what that would look like. So just starting into this very first stitch, I'm just going to work 5 single crochets really quickly. This is 3, 4, and then 5 single crochets just like that. And then into the next stitch, we're going to work a decrease. So into the 6th stitch, pull up a loop. Into the 7th stitch, pull up a loop like that. Yarn over, pull through everything. So we just worked a decrease. Now you just want to repeat that going all the way around this row. So just to do that one more time with you guys, I'm going to work 5 single crochets. This is 2, 3, 4, and then 5, just like that. And then just work a decrease. So pulling up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, and then just pull through just like that. So I'm going to do this all the way around my row, then I'll meet you back at the end. Alrighty guys, so I just finished up doing that decrease row all the way around, and it should go in evenly, and then now you should have a total of 36 stitches. Now we're just going to continue working those regular rounds of single crochets, just slip stitching into that first stitch to join each row, just working those rounds of single crochets until you have a total of 78 rows. So I'm just going to go off camera, finish up my 78 rows in total for my sleeve, and then I will meet you back with the cuff, and then then I'll meet you back with my sleeve, and then we'll get started on the cuff. Alrighty guys, so I am back here with all of my rows completed, and then now that we have finished this, we can go ahead and get started on the cuff. So just to get started on this cuff, I'm going to do a chain of 13. No need to cut and tie off, just do a chain of 13. So once you have made your chain of 13 right here, just beginning into the second chain from your hook, we're going to work slip stitches. So I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain, and then just pull straight through. And then you should have 12 slip stitches in total. So I just finished my row of slip stitches. Again, you should have 12 in total. Now just to end each row on this side, we're going to slip stitch up 2 on the side of our work. So that's 1 slip stitch, and then here's another. So 2 slip stitches up the side just to connect our row like that, and then just turn your work. Now we're going to be working back loop slip stitches for the rest of the cuff. So beginning into the 3rd stitch from our hook, we're going to work back loop slip stitches into each stitch all the way across, and you should still have 12 stitches in total. But just work these back loop slip stitches in each stitch. And then once you have worked those back loop slip stitches, each side on this row, just do a regular chain and then turn. So now we're just going to repeat that same process going all the way around our cuff. So just to show you what that would look like, starting into this first stitch, we're going to work back loop slip stitches all the way down our row. So then after you have worked those back loop slip stitches all the way down again, just slip stitch up 2 on the side of your work. So that's 1, and then 2. And then once again, beginning into that 3rd stitch from our row, we're going to once again work those back loop slip stitches, just like this. And again, I'm going to work these all the way around my cuff and going into every single stitch. Then I'll meet you back once I have reached the end over here. Alrighty guys, so I just worked those back loop slip stitches all the way around my cuff, as you can see here. And then now all we have to do is just seam this section up. So to seam this up, you want to turn your entire sleeve inside out so that the seam will be on the inside. And then just work all the way back up your cuff using slip stitches or single crochets just to seam. And then just work single crochets or slip stitches back up your cuff just to seam that shut, and then cut and then tie off. So I'm going to do that really quickly and then I will meet you back. Alrighty guys, so I just finished up doing my cuff just like this, and then once you cut and tied off, we can now get started on the collar. So to get started on our collar, I just switched my hook from a 5.5mm hook to now using a 4.5mm hook. And all I'm going to do is just do your regular slip stitch, just like that, and then you can just insert your hook anywhere along the side of your collar. So I guess I'll just insert my hook and then slip stitch to secure to begin that row. Now I'm just going to chain 1, and then just beginning into this first stitch, I'm going to do a foundation row of single crochets all around our edge right here. You should treat each row just like 1 stitch. So just beginning into this first stitch, just work these single crochets. So I'm just going to finish working these single crochets all the way around, then I will meet you back once I have reached the end here. Alrighty guys, so I am back here. I just finished single crocheting all the way around my collar, and then now I'm back where we just began. So to connect this row, all you want to do is just slip stitch into that very first stitch just to join this foundation row, just like that. Now we're going to do a chain up of 8. after you have finished your chain of 8, beginning into the second chain from your hook, you're just going to work single crochets into each chain all the way down. And you should have a total of 7 stitches by the end. So once you have worked down your chain, similar to the cuff we just did, we're going to attach this to our edge right here. So we're going to slip stitch up 3 on the side of our work. So that's just 1 slip stitch. Here's 2. And then here's my last one, 3. And then now you just want to turn your work. And then now beginning into this 4th stitch, we're going to work single crochets once again. So just beginning into this 4th stitch right here, we're going to work single crochets into each stitch down, and you should have 7 stitches in total. And then once you have worked all the way down your row with those single crochets, we're just going to chain of 1. And then now we're going to be alternating back loop single crochets and regular single crochets. So for this next row, starting into this 1st stitch, I'm going to work back loop single crochets. Just starting to this 1st stitch, only working those single crochets and the back loops. And this is just to form a really pretty ribboning pattern. And then once you have finished those back loop single crochets, you probably guessed it, we're just going to slip stitch up 3 on the side to start each row. And then after you have slip stitched up 3, just turn your work around, and then now starting from this 4th stitch, we're going to work single crochets again. And then once you have worked those single crochets, just chain and then turn. Now you just want to continue this pattern working all the way along your collar, alternating those back loop and regular single crochet rows, and then not forgetting to slip stitch up 3 to end each row on this side. So I'm going to go all the way around my border, then I will meet you back once I have reached the end here. Alrighty guys, so I worked all the way around my border doing those back loop single crochets and those regular single crochets, and this is what it's looking like. So now all we have to do is just seam this together, which is really easy. All I'm going to do is just turn this inside out and then seam all the way down my little edge right here. So I'm going to do that really quickly, then I'll meet you back. Okay guys, so I just finished up seaming my border right here, and then now our collar is all complete and we're pretty much all done with the pattern. All you have to do now is just weave in all of your ends to finish off. If you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for more content. If you bought this pattern, it would be very helpful if you left a positive review on my Etsy shop. Thank you so much for watching.